I'm Sharon Mitchell, 37. Atlanta air, warm and heavy. 3 years vanished into hospitals. I left my job to save my mother. I paid the mortgage when they couldn't. Insulin, bills, late night rides, my quiet promises. She once promised me a necklace. Platinum chain. Pearl pendant. Her love, sealed at 15. Sunday dinner felt almost kind. My sister's smile was tight and bright. Dad raised his glass, voice booming. To the real daughter, he announced. Applause cut through me like glass. Mom reached into her pocket, calm. The necklace flashed under the lights. She placed it in Deborah's hands. My hands gripped the napkin hard. I didn't cry. I gathered my kids. Nodded to William. We walked into the Atlanta night. Have you ever faced something like this? Tell me in the comments. They called her real and handed her my mother's promise. I grew up earning love like wages. Do enough, behave enough, maybe they'd see me. Mom worked long shifts at the clinic. Dad traveled, came home tired and distant. Deborah, 2 years younger, always knew how to shine. Her laughter filled rooms I never fit in. I was the helper, the fixer, the quiet one. When I turned 15, Mom fell sick for the first time. I remember sitting on her bed, the oxygen hissed soft. She held my hand, her eyes glassy with pain. You're my rock, Sharon, she whispered. Then she lifted the necklace from her drawer. Someday this will be yours. A promise carved into my teenage heart. That pearl became my proof I mattered. Through college, I sent money home. When Dad's business failed, I picked up extra shifts. Deborah posted selfies in Miami. I mailed checks. Mom would say, "You're the responsible one." It sounded like praise, but felt like a leash. Even after I married William, they called when bills piled. Just until we get back on our feet, Dad said. I believed them every time. Because that's what family does, right? You show up. Even when no one claps for you. So when Mom's health collapsed again 3 years ago, I didn't hesitate. I quit my job, packed up my kids, and drove back to Atlanta. I cooked her meals, checked her sugar, paid every hospital bill without question. Each month I told myself, this is love. Love they'll remember. Love they'll finally see. But love built on silence doesn't last. And promises. They break the loudest when you've kept them the longest. She promised me I was her rock, but rocks can crack too. After that dinner, silence filled everything. The kind that hums louder than words. Mom didn't call. Dad sent one text about the mortgage. Deborah posted family photos online, captioned, Sunday tradition, family first. The necklace sparkled on her chest. I went back to work part-time. Retail again, but different store. I stacked shelves, folded clothes, smiled at strangers. Every folded shirt was a small victory. Every paycheck was a step away from them. William supported me quietly, his presence steady, no questions asked. At night, when the house slept, I opened my laptop and planned. 3 years of lost income had buried us. But I still had skills, management, numbers, people. I started an online boutique, just a few handmade pieces and thrifted finds. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. I named it Pearl and Promise. Irony tasted sweet. Orders trickled in, then grew. By month 3, I was shipping nationwide. Customers wrote, "You've got great taste." For the first time in years, I felt seen for something of my own. Not for fixing someone else's mess. Mom never asked how I was doing. Deborah called once, voice sugar slick. Mom says you stopped the payments, she said. Yes, I replied. You said you'd take care of them. Her silence cracked like glass. Then she hung up. I waited for guilt to come. It didn't. Instead, I felt something new, peace that smelled like freedom. Still, nights got quiet. Sometimes I'd remember Mom's hand on mine, that promise of the necklace. I'd picture Deborah's grin as she put it on. Anger would rise, sharp and electric, then fade into determination. I was done begging for worth. I'd build it myself. By the end of that year, Pearl and Promise hit its first $50,000 in sales. I reinvested every dollar, bought new inventory, redesigned the site, and created a charity program for women rebuilding their lives. I called it Rock Again. We donated clothes to job seekers, women like me, once broken, now standing again. If you've been through this, I wrote online, you're not alone. The post went viral. Thousands of comments poured in. People sharing stories of betrayal, of families that took too much. It wasn't just business anymore. It was healing. Still, I knew one thing for sure. Peace never lasts long in families like mine. Because when you rise, the ones who ignored you always notice first. They looked away when I was drowning. Now they'll see me soar. Success doesn't arrive with trumpets. It comes quietly, in emails, orders, and sleepless nights. A year after that dinner, Pearl and Promise crossed 6 figures. I stood in my kitchen, coffee cold, laptop glowing, and exhaled the kind of breath that shakes. I'd built this from scraps of pain. William hugged me, grinning wide. "You did it," he said. I nodded, but tears blurred everything. For the first time, I'd built something no one could take. Or so I thought. 2 weeks later, Mom called. Her voice was soft, like nothing had happened. "Sharon, honey, I miss the kids," she said. I froze, phone pressed to my ear. She didn't mention the dinner. She didn't mention the necklace. Just warmth, rehearsed and strategic. I'd learned that tone long ago. Then came the second call. Deborah. "I heard about your store," she said, laughing lightly. "Mom showed me your website." I kept my tone even. "Oh, that's nice. Yeah, it's really taken off, huh?" she said. Her words floated, harmless on the surface. Then came the sting. "Maybe you could help out with the mortgage again? You know, since things are going well." My jaw clenched. The audacity almost made me laugh. 3 years of silence, and the first call was about money. I ended the call with a polite, "I'll think about it," but inside, something dark bloomed. A week later, Mom invited us to dinner. She said it was just like old times. William hesitated. "You sure?" "I need to see it through," I said. Their house looked smaller than I remembered. Paint chipped, curtains faded. But the table gleamed, set for 6 with candles and polished silverware. Deborah opened the door, smile too wide. "Sharon, you look amazing!" I nodded, stepping inside, feeling the ghosts in the walls. Dinner started gentle. Small talk, compliments. Then Dad cleared his throat. "We're proud of you," he said, his voice carrying that same public tone as before. Mom nodded. "You've done so well, sweetheart. It's good to see you succeeding." For a moment, I let myself believe it. Maybe this was peace. Then Deborah leaned forward, her hand brushing the pearl pendant. "Mom's been struggling with bills again," she said sweetly. "You know how hard it is for her." The pendant glowed under the light. The same light that had once caught it in my dreams. I looked at it, then at their expectant faces. They weren't proud. They were circling again, waiting for me to open my wallet. I smiled slowly, a smile that didn't reach my eyes. "I'm glad you're proud," I said. "But I'm not your safety net anymore." Silence hit like thunder. Mom's fork clattered against her plate. Deborah's smile faltered. And for the first time, I didn't flinch. They toasted me for my success, never realizing I'd stopped serving. After that dinner, the mask slipped fast. Within a week, I got a call from the bank. "Mrs. Mitchell, the mortgage is late again," the voice said. My stomach tightened. I hadn't touched their account in months. 2 hours later, Dad called, panicked. "Sharon, what did you do?" he snapped. "The bank says we're behind." I stared out the window, calm. "I didn't do anything," I said. "You said Deborah takes care of you now." Silence. Then the line went dead. I didn't need proof to know. But proof came anyway. My cousin Douglas texted a photo, a delinquency notice from the bank. Then another message. "Deborah's living with them, spending a lot." I stared at the screen, fury burning low and steady. Deborah had moved in, taken over their finances, and somehow convinced them I was the villain. I called the bank to verify. The representative hesitated, then lowered her voice. "There have been large withdrawals. Someone's using your mother's card often." I didn't need a name. I could already hear Deborah's laugh behind those receipts. That night, I pulled out every document I'd ever saved. Mortgage payments, medical bills, transfer records, my years of invisible labor. I scanned them, one by one, and sent them to my lawyer, Karen. Subject line, "It's time." Days later, Evelyn, my best friend, sent proof. Screenshots of credit card receipts. $800 at Target, $2,500 at Nordstrom, $2,000 for a weekend trip to Orlando. All under Mom's name. Deborah's signature on the deliveries. I felt a strange calm, like ice settling over fire. She wasn't just stealing money. She was stealing their trust, the same way she'd stolen my place at the table. We filed for a formal audit. Karen worked fast. Each document was a blade, each receipt another crack in Deborah's facade. Then came her move. A letter arrived, official seal, crisp paper. Deborah was suing me, claiming I'd manipulated Mom into giving me part of the house. I laughed out loud. It was almost poetic. The thief calling the giver greedy. I gathered my proof. Every bill I'd paid, every signature they'd asked for, every message of Mom thanking me for keeping them afloat. Karen smiled when she saw the file. "She doesn't know who she's up against," she said. A week later, the audit confirmed it all. Deborah had withdrawn over $14,000 in 2 months. Clothes, electronics, travel, all in Mom's name. It wasn't neglect, it was theft. So when Deborah texted me, "Let's settle this as a family," I typed back slowly. "You made your choice. See you in court." I hit send. And for the first time, I didn't shake. She took my mother's necklace. Now I'm taking back the truth. The courtroom smelled of paper and tension. I sat beside Karen, hands clasped, heart steady. Across from us, Deborah looked smaller than I remembered. Her pearl pendant glimmered under harsh fluorescent light. The same one that once meant love. Now it meant everything we'd lost. The judge entered. Chairs scraped. Time slowed. Deborah's lawyer spoke first, his voice confident, rehearsed. "My client acted with her mother's permission," he said. I stared at the floor, counting each heartbeat. Then Karen rose. Her tone calm, deliberate. "Permission doesn't include theft," she said. One by one, she laid out the truth. Bank statements, receipts, ATM footage, text messages, Mom's voicemail thanking me for years of payments. The walls seemed to breathe with each revelation. When it ended, the judge looked at us both. "The evidence is clear," she said. The defendant, Deborah Lynn, misused family funds. Full restitution ordered, $17,000. I exhaled slowly. Relief tasted like metal. Deborah's face crumpled, but I felt no victory, only clarity. Behind her, Mom stared at her lap. Dad looked straight ahead, his silence colder than any sentence. Outside, sunlight hit my face, blinding and clean. Karen smiled. "You did it." I nodded, whispering, "I just told the truth." Weeks later, I sold my parents' house. The same house I'd once saved. The sale closed quietly. No toasts, no calls. I used the money to start a scholarship fund for my kids and children like them, so they'd never have to beg for belonging. Mom and Dad never reached out again. Deborah disappeared into her own silence. But my world grew lighter. William's laughter filled the kitchen. The kids ran barefoot through the yard. Peace at last had a sound. I learned this the hard way. Family isn't blood. It's love that stays when everything else leaves. If you've ever rebuilt yourself after betrayal, share your story below. Someone out there needs your strength. They took my necklace, my title, my place, but they'll never take my peace.